Fishy, come back. No, don't leave me, Fishy. I promise I'll take care of you. I'll be good. No, Fishy, no. Why? Why, Fishy? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, I'm SocioPsycho, and today we're going to look at Abyss Odyssey. This was created by ACE Team, available for PC, and it is a platform brawler of sorts, 2D side screen scroller with some roguelite elements into it. How does it do? How does it look? How does it play? Is it worth your money and more importantly your time? These questions will be answered, and if you're just curious about one thing, then check the video bar for that's what it's there for. Now we're going to start out by simply talking about the story real fast, as the story is very simplistic. For Warlock's journal, basically you come across during combat different journal pages that will drop from enemies. This is pretty much your entirety of the story, as some of the story is relayed to you in voice acting throughout the game, but it's pretty much very simplistic. Your world is under attack, you have to save it. There's a little bit more side meat to it, but that's pretty much the gist of it. You're trying to save the world. When we go into the options, now your keyboard and controller options are both rebindable with ease, and I haven't found any problems on that part. But a problem I do have with the keyboard settings is the fact that they don't have the mouse as really an option. You do use the mouse in the game to attack with your basic attack and your block and or special ability, but when it comes to the interfaces, they've left the mouse completely out, which I found to be not game-breaking, but really annoying at times, more than anything else, because it slows you down. The audio settings, you have music, sound, and voice all on separate sliders. I haven't had any of these be really an issue. As the voice acting in the game is done very well, and I'll let you be the judge of that shortly, the music in the game isn't anything amazing. It does fit the theme of the game, and it does help propel sort of a undertone of battle, but nothing that really rises you up to like a phoenix of fiery conflict. It keeps the tempo, but very subtly. When we go into video settings, now the game is very beautiful, and it's not often you see a game with such amazing artistic value. So there's not too many options in how you can change the graphic preference because it's a 2D side screen scroller. It's pretty much set in stone. Now you do have VSync, which is nice, motion blur, and light shaft effects, which are just small things, as well as a large variation of screen resolutions, which is always appreciated. How to play just simply goes over the different combat controls in case you forget something. Not anything really all that in-depth. It's a brawler of sorts of different combinations of combat, and how that combat works we'll go over shortly. The achievements and leaderboards, if you're interested in leaderboards, there is that. Now when it comes to multiplayer, you have the ability to join up to 4 people, but they have to be local. There is no server-based and be able to just jump in and find somebody to play with off of the net. You have a choice in between support characters, which we'll go into later in the review, and your champion characters. Now the champion characters unlock as you progress through the story. Every time you beat the game, a new champion will unlock. So there is a large variation of different characters to choose from, but are these characters good enough in the variation to offer a replayability option, and how, more importantly, does the combat handle? These will be answered in due time. Training just simply takes you to a practice dummy room where you can practice some of your abilities in combat, but I don't really see too much value in that room. It's nice they have it, but I didn't find much value to it. Now when we start with the actual voice acting of the story, the voice acting is very professionally done. The story is not all that large, and it makes up a really small point. The story tells you basically what you need to know and what needs to happen in the game, and why you're basically carrying out the actions that you're doing. And it has enough meat to it where you don't question or wonder that there's any gaps or it doesn't feel off the rails. This is propelled by the professional level of voice acting that's done in the game, and I'll let you be the judge of how well that's done.
It's no different than the way your dreams create a new reality each night.
I can't continue. I didn't have an antidote vial left to fight the poison. I'm a goner. But you can use this and continue to fight. I'm so tired now. Just want to sleep.
Now when it comes to the inventory of the game, there are 2 issues I have a problem with here. One, your inventory can only hold potions. There are mana potions, health potions, and antidote potions for poison. There are a lot of different trinkets or weapons that you come across in different dungeons, but you can't collect any of these and take them with you. As you do come across merchants throughout the game, you cannot sell any of these items that you would like to pick up because you can't pick up any items to any of your merchants, therefore making the gold collection that you have to gather more of a grind than anything else. Because if you want a certain item, whether it be a weapon, a trinket, a special ability, or a save token, it feels like you have to really farm the gold instead of allowing part of the dungeon element being collecting loot. And I think this is really where they fall off heavily. On top of the fact that when you talk to a merchant, there is no mouse control. Now you can move a mouse over and select different items, but you cannot compare these items. You have to use your arrow keys to scroll through the inventory and the items. Now while this may not be a game-breaking issue, it is a small annoyance more than anything else because you don't want to be at the merchant very long. And with really how they've interfaced the UI, there's always little extra annoyances that take away from your time, just chip away at you bit by bit by bit. And it goes from being something that should be a quick, easy scroll over and look at and see the comparison stat. What does this do? What does that do? There is a severe lack of really understanding for the most part of what's actually in the game and what things do off of that. Another thing that is a little bit annoying about the UI and how you don't have really good understanding and control is should you come across an item, you don't know what it exactly is. When it comes to weapons, it will say, oh, this is an upgrade or this isn't an upgrade. But when it comes to special abilities or rings or trinkets, it doesn't have a comparison window and you don't know whether or not it's better than what you have, which forces you to have to open up your inventory, click over onto the item to see what you currently have, and then change the item that's on the ground from one that's in your inventory, go back into your inventory and look at it again. It's annoying. It's these little annoyances, like I said. The game is very rough in a tutorial sense as it really doesn't have one. It doesn't hold your hand, and that's fine, but it really lacks explaining what's going on as it takes about 30 minutes to an hour before you really get situated into the world. It kind of just throws you into it and expects you to understand everything that's happening, and this I feel will push off a lot of people right off the bat because it's asking way too much with delivering so little information on how to actually integrate into the world. It's these minor little annoyances that hurt the game. Now as you're going through the different dungeons, as you're progressing underground to the abyss as a whole point, and you will come across different shopkeepers, and these shopkeepers will offer you a randomization of different items. Now this is nice because you never know what you're going to find. He may have a weapon that's a severe upgrade, or an item or a token that's a severe upgrade. The roguelite element comes from the fact that if you die, the only thing you end up keeping is your money. You will lose all your potions, your trinkets, and your weapon. So should you die, it punishes you not only by making you start back over at the nearest checkpoint that you were able to save, but also with no gear. Now the nearest checkpoint could be the same level, it could be a couple levels above depending on where you last put a camp token. Now what is a camp token? A camp token you can buy from merchants, and this token allows you to place down a save point on a specific shrine. There are shrines which throughout the different levels, if you have a camp token, depending on the different scale of them, because there's different numbers, the more higher the token, the stronger the allies that you'll be able to summon to keep that safe, and the longer you'll be able to resurrect there should you keep on dying. Camp tokens also pop out allies which will guard the spot that you resurrect from, and also help out in battle by giving you allies to help fight the enemies against as long as it's not a mini-boss. The stronger the camp token is, the stronger the allies that will pop out. And if you die, a hero soldier will come and pick your body up and it needs to get you back to a checkpoint for a resurrection. Otherwise, when you do die, you'll lose everything and you'll have to start back at a checkpoint without your weapons and all that other stuff. The game does have a balance and a connection with the atmosphere. And this is very important to note. The game says, yes, there are traps, there are pits, there are things in the game which will try to kill you, but they also affect the other enemies. Now you can fight the merchants, but I haven't seen a reason. Maybe I didn't visually understand, but I didn't see anything of value when actually fighting the merchant, because he doesn't drop any of his gear that he offered to sell you. He doesn't drop anything, you just get a minor insignificant amount of experience. Even if you manipulate somebody to get killed by the environment, whether they fall into a pit of darkness or killed by a trap, you don't get that experience. So if you don't kill somebody directly, you lose that experience, and that can also come into a severe issue when you're having allies help fight in battle with you, because if they kill an enemy, you don't get the experience. Kind of nerfs you right there. It's annoying. As you progress through the different levels, there is a map, and when you start up top, there is a choice in between 3 different areas to start your campaign downwards. There's a light pink, which is easy, a little reddish, which is moderate, and really red, which is hard. This is the difficulty of the game per these different levels. Now the levels are random. The game randomly generates the levels, so you go through and you may see some same aesthetics and some familiar layouts, but it's picking from all these different characteristics and throwing them together. So while the game overall keeps its same atmosphere, the levels, even the ones that you explored, if you go down to level 2 and you're like, yes, I completed level 2, you go down to level 3 and then 3 kills you, so you go back to level 2 because that's where your checkpoint was, that can be completely different because you're loading back into it a new time. This is nice as it offers a little bit of refreshability and a strong point of the game. At first, there's so much going on that it's a little difficult to understand everything, and the map kind of throws another layer onto that, but once you start piecing things together and understanding things a little bit more, the map is very easy and understandable. It's a linear path, you're just going basically straight down. Sometimes you can go to the left or the right, but you're pretty much just going straight down, so it's not like there's a huge confusion upon where you are or where you're going. The whole point is to go down. When we talk about the level design, there's also secret areas in the game behind walls or hidden areas, and some characters can punch through some walls where other characters can't. And when you do, you can find anywhere between chests, which have gold, or items in them, such as healing potions. And this is a nice little variation of, hey, if you're really careful and you get sharp eyes, you can see how the wall color is different in one area, and you can hack through it, and then you can enter in and get the goods. There are no puzzles in this game, and it doesn't have any like, oh, push this button here and do this and that, and a door opens up. No, it's pretty much if you're able to see a type of wall and you try cutting through it, you'll be able to know right away as soon as you attack it whether or not you're going to get through it or not. The levels look very nice. This is really, I feel, the selling point of the game. The game is artistically beautiful. It's not often you see a game that has this level of detail, color, and really just creativity. In between how the different maps look, the different atmospheres are completely, one will be a jungle, one will be a frozen tundra, one will look more abyss-like. And each of these different areas have different sort of traps or personalities to them, where one that isn't plant life will have more mechanical traps, where one is more of a jungle feel, it'll have vicious vines and creatures that are going to try to destroy and eat you. There's a difference in how the game looks, and it looks very beautiful. It has a lot of detail in the background that you don't usually see, with some very interesting character designs, whether it be flying fish that freeze you when they touch you, or giant platform squids, giant icicles which will freeze you if they fall and hit you on the head, different types of traps. There's a lot of different types of creatures in the game to match with different level designs, whether it be lava or a brick that pops out spikes and charges to the direction that you were. It put a lot of effort in its level design, and it helps propel an atmosphere in the game which really makes you feel as if you're in a dangerous place, or makes you feel as if you're in an area that is unexplored, or you could be in serious trouble if you're not careful. Now, because the maps are randomly generated, sometimes you will end up, and this is the issue of any randomly generated map, sometimes you will end up with getting a trap in a location where the only way to get past it is to end up getting hit by it. This unfortunately is an issue for randomly generated levels. And while I haven't seen this problem be too severe in the game, it is still one to note because it is one that the game suffers from now and again. And why it's very important to point this out is because the health in the game is not something that you have in abundance. You do get health orbs from enemies. They only really heal 20 to 30 hit points. When we're talking about having over 1600 hit points, that really doesn't do much, and when each hit you take can go anywhere between 50 to 200 damage on you, getting 20 to 30 hit points back from an orb really isn't all that impressive. So getting hit by some of these traps can be really detrimental, and sometimes you'll just end up having to pass on loot that you know is down there because you can't afford to take the hit, because later on when you're fighting in combat, you'll need every single hit point you have. When we talk about platforming, the platforming in the game is very simple, as you're not required to do anything spectacular or amazing when it comes to platforming. No wall running, no wall jumping, no wall bouncing back and forth, no slinking, sliding, anything really of advanced skill, because of the way the character moves and the animations, while they may be nice, do feel very clunky and are very, very slow in its reaction time. Thus, the platforming elements you do have are jump from A to B to avoid lava, or jump over a pit or spikes or trap. It's not anything that's overly complicated, and it's very, very simplistic in its platforming abilities. For this game to be bought because you're feeling you want a platform game would be a severe, severe mistake, as the platforming in this game is one of the lowest difficulties for a game that has platforming in it to be at. Which brings us to the combat. Now, the combat in the game is the downfall of the game. The game looks amazing, it has great character fluctuation in how many different types of enemies there are and what the type of enemies do, but the combat is sluggish. It's not enjoyable. Now, I played a lot. I really did. I refused to just play for a minute and be like, oh, this combat sucks. I want to know why. It comes down to simply, if you think back to playing Mortal Kombat way back when, and you're playing with somebody who knows all the special moves, and they grab you with a special move, they hit you with another special move, then they do another special move, and your character can't even get back up in time to attack or to block or to dodge, and you're getting hit again and again and again. It's the same type of frustration in this game. While you can dodge, it goes into the same UI issue of having to either hit two different buttons to dodge instead of just double tapping the directional key that you want. Now, there is also block, but with how much latency there is in between when you tell a character to move, the order of command which they feel is important in, well, I'm attacking, should I stop and block or should I attack again? You see an enemy, you attack with your right mouse button, he swings to attack, and then you see him charging up for something, or he's going to hit you, and you have that split second, you're like, I hit block, I'm holding block down, but my character's still in attack swing. I get hit, I get knocked down, now he has the upper hand, and he's hitting me, and it's combo. It comes down to this simple mechanic. You can either be the one doing the combo attacking to them in a spamming manner, or you can be the one receiving the combo damage from them. The combat abilities are not anything that are in-depth or amazing. There is no large variation of different skills. Now, when it comes to the different types of characters and different types of enemies, yes, the different types of enemies and characters may have a different passive ability or different type of different attacks. But that is to be expected. If you fight a troll, you know it's going to be different than fighting a hobgoblin. But when it comes down to the hero, you expect your hero to have an arsenal of weapons or at least some sort of ability to pick from in order to fight, or perhaps even a combo move or different sort of combos that you may be used to in a brawler sense to be able to fight your enemy in a manner that is fluid and powerful. That's where the game fails. The game doesn't have fluid combat, and the combat it does will not feel powerful. Now you may get a strong hit against somebody, and you might get a hit combo against somebody if they're standing still against a wall before they fall onto the ground and dodge your attacks. But the power of those slashes, of those hits, don't really have any weight behind them, and they don't feel really all that heavy. Put that together with the fact that you have only really a few basic attacks. Now you do have a magic attack, which will kind of throw a big energy ball and do a little bit of combo damage to the person it hits, and it takes up your entire mana bar. Mana is regained by collecting mana orbs. It doesn't regain over time. So it's a sort of ability extra damage move, but not even one that's powerful enough to be a get out of jail free card or a ace up your sleeve. It doesn't do all that much damage. If you use the ability on a level 1 creature and your ability is a level 1, it should do a significant amount of damage to that level 1 creature because it is a special ability. The way it's designed is it does not. So therefore, upgrading it and then fighting monsters which are upgraded and stronger and higher level, you would have the same turnout. If you attack and desire to move, it is a chore more than anything else. Attacking in one direction as the enemy jumps behind you, there is a severe 1 second or 1.5 second delay from when you're able to actually turn around to attack. That delay time is if you're not already attacking. If you're trying to attack somebody by swinging your weapon, they jump behind you and you're still swinging your weapon, they will be able to hit you before you're able to even turn around and block. The delay in between the different abilities make it not fluid at all. This takes away from the game's artistic value and anything else it might have, because that is the whole point of the game. What you'll be doing the most of is the combat, and yet the combat is very poorly done. Now I know there's a difference in between my skill and maybe somebody who loves brawlers and is a champion of brawlers, so I'm not coming at this as a, well, it just must be my skill. I went online, I watched videos of people who were supposed to be really good at this game, the top tier people. And what I noticed, well, yes, their timing is a lot better than mine. There's still that reaction lag time and lack of fluidity in the game. Now you tie all this together with the fact that you don't really have many abilities to use. You have your special magic attack, which does very little damage if you have full mana, and your basic block and parry and strike abilities. But beyond that, there's really nothing else. You're attacking, whether it be a leg sweep or a downward attack once you jump in the air. There's no fluidity, there's no special combat which keeps the tempo up and making you think, okay, I got combo after combo after combo. There have been games in the past where I played and say, get 1,000 combo hit. And I'm like, damn, okay, and I get up to 300. I'm like, wow, 1,000? That's crazy. This game, I'm lucky to get past 5 combos. It's that bad in the fluidity. If you hit an enemy and you're holding down movement arrow, you won't actually move in that direction because you're still attacking with your weapon. Oh, I swiped with the weapon once, but I can't actually move forward while swiping with the weapon. Whether this is a desire to maintain a certain style of form regarding real swords play, there is no forward momentum. So even in that logical trying to analyze where they're coming from, they still fail. This issue is only made worse by the fact that when you come across mini-bosses. Now as you progress to the bottom level to get to the end boss, there'll be mini-bosses in between you. These mini-bosses can have different attack abilities, different range. They could be pole arm weaponry with magic abilities. They can really hit you over and over and over again before you can even hit them. And it comes into this combo ability of, well, if I don't do everything perfectly as the system needs and still have full health, I'm just screwed. He hits me once, I'm going to get like a 12 combo on me because of the reaction time of how long it takes me to get back up, how he can hit me when I'm laying down, magic and everything else. It's an issue of the enemy has more different abilities than the hero has the capability to either dodge or attack with. Now, to breach the gap in this issue, they have the ability of a trinket item, which will carry the essence of one of the monsters that you fight. Now, you can find these perhaps in a chest, buy them off a merchant, or there are certain special levels, which when you go into this level, you'll fight 2 waves, and you'll start as a character that's randomly selected for you, that is a monster, and if you beat that level as that monster, your character will regain full health, and you'll get the essence of that monster that it gave you, randomly selected. Now, this is one way for them to try to offer a variation in how the combat feels, and while it can bridge some of the gaps in making either the fluidity or the available in what skills you have a little bit more gapped, it still comes down to the fact that your character is still limited in their movement, their speed, and their capability to react to a situation. If you get hit, if you are being berated with a attack, you cannot block and you cannot put up a block. You have to wait until you're completely done being attacked, which will then result you in falling to the ground, so you'll have to get back up before you can even block. This is retarded. It's mind-bogglingly stupid. So even with the special abilities of these types of monsters, while they may help you in some areas, they don't overall fix the issue of the combat, which is the main detrimental of the game. So when we come down to it at the end of the thing, does the game look good? Yes, it looks amazing. Very rarely does a game have this level of graphic beauty. How is the character story progression and the voice acting? Well done. Music follows through with that. But when it comes to the items, the inventory, the feeling of dungeon crawling and gathering up items and weapons and selling stuff, horrible. It does not actually do what it needs to help you feel as if you're progressing through the world in a powerful manner. Built with the UI that can be very clumsy at times and more of a chore to navigate than it should be. Followed up with the combat, which is just a joke. I cannot recommend this game. I can see it maybe if you're really devoted to brawler style games, but even if you're really devoted to brawler style games, I would feel that the lack in the level of choices you have in between your abilities would be more of a deterrent than anything else. The game doesn't offer you the meat that it needs to and the combat fluidity that it should. Yes, you have a few options in between the different characters. There is a wide berth, potentially, from the different support characters to different playable characters that you can pick from, but it comes down to the fact that they all fall into the base mechanic of combat, which is not all that good. It gets very repetitive very easily, and I was hoping that after I beat the game once and I unlocked more characters, I wouldn't have this issue, I wouldn't suffer from this problem, but that wasn't the case. I could not find the passion to bring myself to play the game a second time through because it was just so repetitive. So ladies and gentlemen, I cannot recommend this game, but should you wish it, it's on Steam. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.